Hey guys, it's an honor to be with one of our mentors and heroes of one of the great churches in America, Guts Church. You know, Pastor Bill said something, and guys at the men's retreat who are listening to this, or all over Pittsburgh, some of the churches, something Pastor Bill said to me, and I think it's a phenomenal statement. He said the Bible was written to men. Pastor Bill, if you would unpack that a little bit.
There's a bit of shock value in that, and I don't mind bringing a little bit of shock, but to bring context and clarification, under 10% of the population then of women were literate. So it just goes, it goes almost without saying that these letters that Paul wrote, the Gospels that were written for men. And so but it doesn't stop with men. It isn't just targets men. It was written to men where men could understand it, but then turn and communicate it. But I think that we have to look at this. I know that a mandate on my life is to build men. I believe men have to be built. And you know, for generations, dads did it, grandpas did it, you know, coaches did it. And, you know, now everything's been softened. Right. And you can't build men in soft environments. Wow. You know, I've heard it, you know, that we all listen to Navy SEALs and we hear it, but I don't know if it was Jocko or somebody, that one of those SEALs that said, hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Wow. Weak men create hard times. Hard times create strong men. And that's that cycle. And I think that, you know, that with everything, the narrative of the world, everything going on in the world, it creates a real softness. And doggone it, I mean, there's no way we're going to be able to get the gospel out from a soft venue of men.
Come on. You know, next question. At Guts Church here in Tulsa, they've built a strong church, a healthy culture. And so I first want to start, what's a healthy church like this look like? And how do we create that culture with strong men? And if you get around here, there's not just, my daughter and I were talking about this, there's not one great guy, two great guys. There's a lot of great guys. There's a lot of great speakers, a lot of great pastors. That's been developed in this culture. What would you say to a church that's just kind of dragging? It's got this kind of culture that's, maybe you just use the term soft. Could you break that down a little, why the church has gotten soft and how putting strong male leaders in places causes it to flourish?
Well, what comes to mind to get to the answer to that question, a little preface to it, is all the narrative of the world, everything that we see and we hear from the world standpoint, it all originated in church. And and the Bible says judgment starts in the house of God. You know, so you look at it in the 70s when the abortion became an issue in our society. And it was an issue before that, but it really came to be an issue in the 70s. Well, there were people who said, man, I believe that birth is at inception, and that's the church's stand. Well, then the world came out and said, well, what about rape and incest? And most people relented, and they backed off a little bit, and they left the door open to abortion with those things. So what's the devil going to do? He's going to throw the door open. And there's so much more about that. I believe that, you know, that the trends of the church can be the trends of the world could be walked back into the church, decisions that were made. So I think we have to examine ourselves that we're in faith. And then we've got to adjust it, and we've got to look at it, and we've got to understand that in order for the world to be reached, there's got to be a strong America. But a strong America requires a strong church. And the way the church goes is the way America's going to go.
Love it. Love it. You know, something Pastor Bill says all the time, I just want him to break us down a little. You know, how do you build strong men? So he said something to me on the phone a couple months ago, actually a couple years ago, but it's been a theme. It's been an interweaving theme. And I want him to break it down for us. But, you know, men need things simple. So he said on the phone, and I think he says it quite a bit, but he was like, they just need to show up. They need to buy in and they need to sell out. And so speaking to a man, what would you break that down as? Give them the details of what that means to you.
Well, just talking to the pastors and leaders that are watching this, we have to offer opportunities of moments.
That's good.
So if somebody shows up at your church, you need to provide a few moments for them to buy in, for them to lean in and think, okay, wait a second, they're in this for me. And see, that's where it all starts. The gift that's in our life is not for us, it's for others. And when we realize that when we look at it and we say, it's somebody sitting there and they're like, wait, I think he cares about me. I think he's talking to me. Then, man, let me tell you, now we got them where we want them. They're leaning in. And when they lean in, I'm not selling. I'm sold. I'm a closer. I'm not a shopper. I'm a buyer. So if somebody starts leaning in, I'm going to close them. And it's abrupt and it's direct. And see, people haven't seen that in the church. Right. We want to share with them and we want to offer with them.
They've been getting soft serve.
Well, and Jesus said, look, make disciples. There's a force in that.
Right.
Here, you need to put these disciplines in your life. And people are like, disciplines aren't fun. But let me tell you, the only fulfilling things in our lives are the things that we discipline ourselves to achieve. But I think getting back to your question, the idea of church as we know it, we've got to. I think about this because there's a dismantling and a deconstruction of faith. Well, I don't mind that. My faith is strong. I can handle them trying to deconstruct it. But what we do have to do is dismantle and deconstruct the church. And it's almost like a frame, put it down to the frame and rebuild it. Wow. And because the race we're in right now is different than the race I bought into 45 years ago. Right. I mean, gosh darn, now with the internet and with everything going on, we've got to look at this and understand and face up to it. I mean, I'm of the opinion David was a man after God's own heart. Yeah, he was a king and he was prophetic and he was a psalmist and he was a leader, but at the end of the day, he was a killer. He killed Goliath. And let me tell you, that turned everything for Israel. That's right. And those guys went on giant hunts. And that's who we are now. That's good. We're those people. And let me tell you, men of God watching this, Jethro told Moses, he said, look, this is too big a job for you. Find leaders of tens, 50s, hundreds, and thousands and let them lead. And here's what hit me. What's interesting is this church is thousands. So all the leaders in this church, we're a body of leadership now. And we're all leaders of thousands. So a leader of thousands, you look at the political landscape. It's not fair. You're vulnerable. There's accusations. There's expectations that no one could deliver. But understand, we're stepping into an unfair market because we're vulnerable. We've got to be transparent. We've got to be a living epistle read of all men. And we're an easy mark. I don't mind being an easy mark.
I like it. How would you answer this question? A guy called me yesterday, and he's got a life-giving church, several hundred, probably 400, 500, 600, and growing. And he said to me, Pastor, I told him, they're going to be coming to the retreat and watching some of this stuff. He said to me, how come all these women, they love to get involved in the church and they love the lead areas? And he said, I'm just wondering when my guys come in that love to deer hunt, love to chew and spit and watch football. He said, is the reason they're not leading because I just haven't made room for them and the women are doing everything? He said, what's the equation to fix that? And many people use the religious term, men don't have accountability. How do you see that? How do you change that, should I say? Well, how do you change that, shift that in a culture?
I want to take some pressure off these pastors. Accountability doesn't work. We've got too many friends that, I'm accountable to this board or these people, and they end up doing heinous things. It all starts with honesty. Men are attracted to honesty. Men are attracted to direct. And it's kind of like Saul of Tarsus. He's on the road to Damascus. He gets knocked out on his back. He said, whoa, 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 just tell me what to do. Jesus was very direct. People have this mindset. In America, Jesus was this sweet, nice guy. He wasn't. I'm telling you, he was cold-blooded. I mean, you got oxen, you got land, you taking a wife, your dad's dying. He didn't buy any of it. He said, follow me now. And see, and the way we follow him is we have to crucify our flesh and then pick up that cross and follow him. I mean, it's like, I'm not coming with a guitar. I'm not coming with a microphone. I'm not coming with a book I've written. I'm coming with a cross on my back. And I'm dragging it. And so that, I mean, it's not for everybody. You know, I mean, my wife and I, we were driving down the road in my truck, and there was a digital billboard that came up of a church, and it was a rainbow theme, and it said everyone's welcome. So it's an obvious message that they're sending. And I just looked at it and didn't say anything, and she's turned to me and said, man, I want to put a billboard up that says guts isn't for everybody. And you know, I was in high school one time, Pastor Buck, and these recruiters came in, military recruiters. And the Army guy got up and he said, man, you could be all you could be. And he talked for about 25 minutes, and the Marine came up and he said, the few, the proud, the Marines, and he talked for 20 or 25 minutes. And then the Navy guy came up and he said, man, we go to the best ports and the most beautiful, we have the best looking uniforms and the most beautiful places on earth is where we get to go, coastal places. And he talked for about 20 minutes. And then with 2 minutes left in the hour-long assembly, the Air Force guy said that, but the Marine gets up and he says, you know, maybe 2 or 3 of you guys could handle this. And he walked off. And it's interesting. I walked by the Army, the Navy, the Air Force tables, and the Marine table was swarmed with guys. Wow. And I think if we look at it, the challenge of being a Christian, the challenge, and when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived them unlearned and ignorant men, they marveled and took knowledge that they'd been with Jesus. Jesus had the strength to get to the cross, but then the power to walk out of that grave. And see, that's what men need. That's what these pastors need to have the mindset. It's like, look, the Logos of God gives me the strength to know this stuff. That there's a strength in knowing, but to do it, it's going to require the power, and that we have to communicate.